Do you want to work for money or do you want money to work for you? Because at the end of the day, money can either be your master or your slave. This question I've just asked you is at the heart of Robert Kiyosaki's best selling book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. A book that has become the hallmark of modern financial thinking. In it, Robert tells the story of two dads. They are with very different approach to how they see money. One dad is his real father. He was highly educated. He worked in a secure government job and believed in studying hard to get a good salary. The other dad, his friend's father, was a businessman. He didn't have any certificates or school records, but he understood money and how it really works. One taught him how to work for money, the other taught him how to make money work for him. And that's the timeless principle behind Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Now, this is a book that has changed how millions of people think about wealth. But here's the real question: does this book really live up to the hype? And what practical lessons can we actually take away from it? Stick with me, because in this review, I'll break down the powerful money lessons that Robert Kiyosaki taught in the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and how we can actually apply it to our lives. Hello, welcome to Rich in Progress, this channel. If you are joining for the first time, welcome. And if you are returning, thank you very much. How you doing? This is a channel where we break down finance to the fine details and explain in a way that everyone can actually apply practically. The book Rich Dad Poor Dad revolves around five main ideas. One, mind shift change, how the rich think differently. Two is assets and liability. This was one of the concepts that Robert Kiyosaki actually introduced. Financial education, learning what schools don't teach you. Number four, work to learn, not just to earn. And number five, entrepreneurship and business owning, a way to wealth. Those are the five principles that Rich Dad Poor Dad actually taught. The first concept is the mind shift change. Robert Kiyosaki in the book says that rich people think differently from how poor people think, and he used these following concepts to explain it. He said poor dad would always say work for money, while rich dad would say let money work for you. Poor dad says get a good education, find a secure job and climb the ladder, while rich dad says build assets that generate income and let money work for you. Next concept is about don't be afraid of risk. Fear and comfort is what makes people get stuck. Poor dad believed in security, a safe job, a steady paycheck, a pension, while rich dad believed that the fear of losing money is what keeps people poor. Instead of avoiding risks, he said, learn how to manage it. For example, people are scared of investing into the stock market because they have heard that it crashes and then people panic. Rich dad will say that time it actually drops is the time you have to go in and buy, because it means that you are buying on discounts. Which brings me to the next mindset, which is learn to spot opportunities, not problems. Poor dad will often say, I can't afford it, while the rich dad would say, how can I afford it? This small shift in the language used forces the brain to look for solutions instead of shutting down. Now, instead of saying, property is too expensive, you know what rich dad would say? He would say, what creative way can I use to buy this property? Can I partner with someone? Can I go and borrow from the bank with using what I have already as a guarantee? Rich dad also encouraged Robert Kiyosaki to watch how cash moved in and out of businesses and to think about how assets could produce income without his time. He says, don't just think about salary all the time. Think about your cash flow. This is the one of the most important things that Robert Kiyosaki taught in his book Rich Dad Poor Dad. The second principle that Robert Kiyosaki taught in Rich Dad Poor Dad is assets versus liability. He says the main difference between the rich and the poor is how they define assets and how they define liabilities. For example, he said assets is anything that puts money into your pocket every month, while liability is anything that takes money out of your pocket every month. Simple definition, but it changes a lot of things. Many people think that when they buy their dream property, the 5-bedroom mansion, big property with a double garage, that this is an asset. It's not an asset, because this still takes money out of your pocket every month. It means it's a liability. Or even if you bought the mansion outrightly, it is not putting money into your pocket, so it's still not an asset. However, if you buy a rented property and you put it out for rent, the person who rents the property will be paying you money into your pocket every month. So this is an asset, not a liability. But the point is this: an asset can easily become a liability, and a liability become an asset. This is what I mean. For example, I have just said that the rented property, if they are paying you money every month, is an asset. However, if nobody is renting that property for a period of time, it becomes a liability, because you have to continue paying the mortgage on that property while nobody is renting it. That is a liability. Also, that 5-bedroom property you bought that I said is not an asset, or rather that Robert Kiyosaki is saying that it's not an asset, if you rent one or two of the rooms out as Airbnb or a short let, then that liability becomes an asset, because you can now be getting money every month. That is why it becomes an asset. There are several other assets that you can actually look into. For example, putting your money in the stock market, the ETFs, exchange traded funds, and getting dividends every month or every year. That is an asset. Creating a course online that people can buy, or creating an app that people can use and pay some few tokens. All these are assets. There are many platforms you can actually use to create a course and put it out there for people to use. These are assets that will generate money for you over the years. Not just buying a wonderful sports car and parking it outside your garage and saying that, yes, this is an asset. It's not an asset, because it does not put money into your pocket monthly. It's going to be a very interesting conversation if you drop in the comments what are your thoughts about an asset or a liability. Do you agree with Robert Kiyosaki in this? Now, the third core principle that Robert Kiyosaki taught in this book is financial education is very important. Lessons that schools do not teach. The contrast between the rich dad and poor dad was simple. Poor dad was highly educated man. He had the degrees, the certification, the qualification. He was respected in the government job. I think at a point he was the head of the teaching association. But despite all his knowledge and all he has achieved, financially he struggled too much. Rich dad, on the other hand, did not have these qualifications. He did not have a master's degree. He didn't have anything. However, he understood money. He understood business, and he understood investing. And that was why he became extremely wealthy. Robert Kiyosaki taught in this book that people should not be learning about how to earn on a job. You should not be learning about how to be a maths genius all the time. But you should actually learn in the course of your life and your career how to invest, how to make money multiply. Because Most of the people that earn great salaries, like doctors, lawyers, engineers, who were very book smart at school, they still grow broke because they didn't lack income, but they lacked financial education. The more you learn, the more you earn. That's what rich dad taught. Poor dad, on the other hand, said the more you get more certificates, more degrees, the more you earn. Most times, the financial tips you earn just by reading financial books, reading podcasts, or the Financial Times actually gives you financial literacy that is better than what you studied hard for in school for several years. Rich Dad knew that those who don't understand the rules of money will spend their lives working for those who do. Rich Dad says you don't need a university degree in finance to get started. You can begin by simply tracking your money like a business does. Look at your income and expenses. Look at your assets and liabilities. You can spend 20 minutes a day listening to a finance podcast or on a YouTube channel, just like Rich in Progress, and learn simple actions that you can take. So the lesson here is simple. Financial education is this real secret weapon schools won't give you. No one else will. And at the end, taking time to learn about money is what will make you achieve financial freedom, while everyone else keeps working harder and harder just to stay afloat. The next core principle in the book is work to learn, not to earn. Poor dad saw job as financial stability and income, but rich dad saw it differently. He said a job is a training ground, a place to pick up skills that could one day make you financially free. He told Robert that he should deliberately seek out roles where he could learn about sales, marketing, investing, management, and communication. He said these skills are worth more than any paycheck. And when you think about it, this advice is really, really timeless. Most people today look out for work through the lens of salary. How much does it pay? Is their first question. But the wealthy think differently. What skills will this job give me? What network will I gain? What form of independence can I get from this? I remember back in school, I was elected to be a pastor in my local church. Of course, they didn't pay me anything, but it taught me some very basic things of how to relate with others, how to communicate with others, and also how to explain difficult concepts from the stage. And this has helped me throughout my career and has made me to be able to use things and leverage on things and build businesses out of communication skills. See, volunteering in a charity that can make you understand how people can apply for funds is a very good thing, even if they are not going to pay you. Even if you feel you are stuck at a job, many people feel they are stuck at for example, in a corporate job. But you know what? You are learning about processes, you are learning about structure, you are learning about communication. All these tools you can later apply in your own ventures. The truth is, the rich often hop across industries early in their career. They are not chasing the biggest salary. They are just chasing the broadest skill sets. Because the wider your skills, the more open doors you get. So don't just ask, what am I earning? Ask, what am I learning? Because as Rich Dad told Robert Kiyosaki, the skills you have today can build your life tomorrow. Don't just look for what you are going to earn from a job. Look for what you are going to learn from the job. The fifth core principle of the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, is this: entrepreneurship and investing are the only pathway to freedom. Rich Dad often told Robert Kiyosaki that there's one simple truth: you will never get rich working for someone else. That didn't mean that jobs were useless. He said jobs were for learning. But Rich Dad says the real wealth comes from owning assets, and the most powerful assets were businesses and investments. Robert's poor dad's safest part was get a job, a steady income, and go up the career ladder. But rich dad thought differently. If you only rely on a salary, you will always be trapped. You need assets that generate money, whether you are working or not. That's why he encouraged Robert Kiyosaki to think as an entrepreneur, to build up businesses that can still run while he sleeps. Rich Dad showed Robert Kiyosaki that poor and middle class people often get caught in the trap of working harder, earning more, and then spending more. They buy bigger houses, nicer cars, or take on more debts, which are all liabilities that drain their income. The rich, on the other hand, looks more into investments that pay them back. They create multiple streams of income that don't depend on their daily efforts. So, what does that have to do for you watching me today? It's about thinking of how I can make a side hustle, how I can fix something, I can do a freelance service, I can grow something into an asset, or thinking of investing instead of stretching for yourself to buy a dream house, buying a smaller property and then buying one that you can just rent out for someone else so that they can pay you money. Also thinking big about investing into broad index funds like the FTSE 100 or the VUSA, as I've explained on this channel before. Over time, all this grows and pay dividend, making you money while you are doing something else. The key takeaway is that entrepreneurship and investing are the real exit routes from the rat race. Salaries alone keep you on the treadmill, always running but never breaking free. But when you build and buy assets, generate money for you, you create freedom. And freedom, Rich Dad reminded Robert all the time, is the ultimate goal. Freedom to choose how to spend your money, who you want to work with, who you want to live with. So the question to you is, what assets are you building today that will pay you tomorrow? Now, before we wrap up, let's talk about the critics of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad might never have existed. That it was, people say it was more of a fictitious character, even though Robert Kiyosaki always denied it and said there was really a rich dad. But from history, it was from looking at the biography, it was noted that this rich dad was just a concept and not really a true person. Pointed out that the book is light on practical step-by-step instruction. It won't tell you which stock to buy or how to calculate property yields or give you a tax strategy. And that's true. This book is not a manual. It's not that kind of book you finish and you get a checklist in your hand and say, this is what I will do tomorrow. Rich Dad, Poor Dad is about techniques. It's about a mindset, about a change in mindset. What separates those who are staying stuck from those who are actually breaking free? It gets you to ask questions. And these are the questions like, is my house really an asset? Am I working to earn or working to learn? Am I letting fear stop me from investing? For millions of people, this book was the spark that the moment they realized there was another way to live financially. And for this reason alone, this book is worth reading. Rich Dad, Poor Dad is a masterpiece of financial philosophy, and it has been very helpful for me personally. If you are already on your journey, it might feel quite basic, but if you are just about starting your journey in financial principles, this book will be a very good for you. My rating for it is 8 out of 10, really. It has the ability to make you think differently about money, and that's the whole point. So what do you think? Do you believe Rich Dad was real or was just a story? And do you agree that buying a house to live in is an asset or a liability? Let me know in the comments section. And please, if you like this channel, that's what it's all about. It's about mindset shift. Please like and subscribe. This is Rich in Progress, helping you move from income to wealth. Until next time, keep building assets, not liabilities. Thank you very much.